What's up, everybody? It's Alex from Heavy New York. We are back at the Kingsland, and we just wrapped up an awesome interview with Arsis. And today we return with Angelmaker, who remains to this day as my 5th most watched interview.
Crazy. That's insane, man.
Yeah. But I do have a certain bone to pick with you, Matt, because your other band that you are in, known as Threat Signal, has caused me the worst 3 hours of pain of my life.
Well, maybe you deserved it.
I definitely deserved it, and it was worth it.
For liking that band, yeah.
I'm
kidding.
But it's so great to have you guys here. I mean, since Summer Slaughter back in 2017, I mean, you guys have definitely left a permanent impression on the minds of many New Yorkers. But you are currently working on your new album now, so let's give a rundown on how the making of the new album has been.
Yeah, I mean, it's done at this point. We're just waiting to hear the masters and everything, and we're working on the artwork, and no names for anything yet, but it's getting there, and, you know, we're pretty excited about it.
Yeah, we went down to Interlace Audio, Portland, Oregon. We did it returning to Stephen Hawks at Interlace Audio. He did our first album, Dissentient, and yeah, we just wanted to go back and make it a consistent thing, and we did that back in May is when we were in the studio.
Yeah. In May,
yeah. So that's when we were recording it, and then since then it's just been, you know, mixed, and we're currently waiting for like final mixes and masters and stuff like that. And
which is awesome. Are you planning for this new record to be kind of like a direct follow-up to Dissentience, or do you consider this record to kind of like stand out and be on its own sort of thing?
It definitely is like I wouldn't say it's like a direct follow-up. It's definitely like a level up, I think.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
it you know, going back to Stefan, I think it's very familiar in like the production kind of sense. But I think that musically it's like a level up. I know that's kind of like what everyone says. It's like, yeah, it's a step up from our last album, but it really is. But it is familiar. So there is a bridge.
So people who like the last record can definitely not be expecting like any changes or anything like that.
Yeah, like there's change. Like there's definitely a lot of different sounds that we're playing with. But I think for the most part, if you're a fan of Angelmaker and Dissentient, then like this will be right up your alley for sure.
Yeah. I mean, as far as like, you know, as the playing and everything goes, I think we really tried to push ourselves, you know, to do things that we wouldn't normally do per se. And, you know, a lot of the, you know, when we were recording it too, we were doing stuff that was, you know, not out of our skill level, but we were pushing it to where things were like pretty hard to play. So I think, you know, for this next record, people should be pretty stoked on it because we're very proud of it. Yeah.
You know, from what I've seen you guys play at Summer Slaughter, like I said, it definitely left because a lot of people have categorized you guys as kind of like a deathcore band, but I saw like elements of traditional death metal and some slam in there. Are you guys primarily focusing on let's make the most brutal music we can, or do you sort of like to experiment with your sound a little bit as well?
Yeah, it's definitely more of an both for sure. Like because we got into deathcore because of the brutality. I think it wasn't so much about like the beautiful melodies and the things that you could accomplish. Like,
Whitechapel is full of ballads, right?
Exactly. Like we totally like, you know, we love that somatic defilement and all that kind of stuff, and that's what we definitely always have wanted to be brutal, and that's still what we want to be. But I think Angelmaker now is, you know, hopefully it's like its own version of deathcore. Still, I still consider it deathcore, but it's like Angelmaker's version of deathcore, and we like to have things like, you know, we might spice it up with a little bit of, you know, pure brutal death metal, or like, you know, a little bit of hardcore black metal, or like, you know, just kind of little, it's like a seasoning on top of what, you know, we think deathcore is.
Yeah.
Well, deathcore over the years has kind of like did like their own things. Like you look at a band like Born of Osiris, they bring a little bit of prog in their deathcore, and then you take a band like Amir that has kind of like a sort of like a new metal sort of effect into it. For you guys, I think in the end there's just a rawness to Angelmaker that just gets people going crazy.
Yeah, definitely. Sorry. I mean, like we have so many different influences on the band, so it's like I guess we just draw that into our style, and you know, hopefully that can become its own thing, like Colton was saying. But Yeah, I mean, we definitely draw from different elements, and everyone kind of does their own thing, and we try to make it like its own kind of not category per se, but as far as like music goes, we just write and just whatever happens, and we kind of just refine it together.
Cool.
Yeah.
What I was curious about is, and I think I asked this last time, but being that you also play in Threat Signal, which is completely different from Angelmaker, like, does that maybe like working with Threat Signal ever help you bring in some newer elements to Angelmaker? Being that Threat Signal has a lot of guitar soloing in there and a lot of melodic parts to it. Did that at all help Angelmaker, or do you tend to like to keep this sort of separate?
It helped in just, I mean, as far as like the writing styles go, they're very different. But like, I mean, I kind of try to do my own thing as far as writing goes. So I do like a lot of European death metal, a lot of melody based stuff as well. So I try to bring that in the band, and I mean, I know they're both pretty different bands, but it definitely has helped, I would say, in the long run.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, being with the songwriting process of Angelmaker, is there ever something that ever comes first? Do you have to hear rhythm and then that's how you write the riffs, or is there maybe like a vocal concept that determines the music? I mean, how is there anything that always starts off?
Yeah. For me, it's always been. I mean, it was weird because with Dissentient, I'd written most of the album before Matt, as opposed to the solos and stuff. Because I won't speak about the solo. Matt's always the guy that writes the solos, and I would say the leads that go over any of the rhythm parts. But with that album, I had started with just drums. So I started with the drums, like just demo, like kind of MIDI drum kind of stuff, just to start. So I'd actually like finish a song on drums, and then the drums would inspire me to write guitar riffs over it. And then when it came to bass, it's kind of like, okay, Cole, whatever you want, but this is how what the guitar is playing. And for the most part, especially on Dissentient, Cole would be kind of following along with what the guitars were doing. And then after the song was finished, it's like, here's a good section for Matt to be doing leads on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And there was, I think, a good 3 or 4 songs, or there's about 3 songs, I think, that when Matt joined the band, we finished together. We actually wrote entirely. And that was us just pretty much sitting down with, I think, drums, and then doing that. But with the newest album, I started actually doing it like all over the place. Like I'd just sit down with my guitar this time and come up with a riff, and then I'd let that carry the song. And then I think there's a lot more structure to the new album, so I would sit and come up with like a chorus first, and I'd be like, oh, this is like an epic chorus. And then I'd go and take that chorus and I'd go back to the beginning of the song and be like, and write an intro that I know is going to fit, into a verse and right into that chorus. And yeah, that's kind of how it went with the new album. Mm-hmm. And then, I think I demoed out 15 or 16 songs.
Yeah, it's quite a few.
Yeah, pretty much entirely myself. And that's as opposed from the solos, of course. And then we kind of just all picked a bunch, and then Matt went over and did leads and solos, and Cole's bass is very distinct on this album as well. He had more time to kind of like come up with his own flavor. Mm-hmm, but that's kind of how it went. As far as influences, it's kind of like whatever. I try not to be too influenced by things I'm listening to, but
Yeah, at what point are you so influenced that you're just ripping them off?
You have to. You always have to be very careful, right? And I don't think it's anything like that. I think it's still Angelmaker, but yeah, a little different than like before. And as far as writing it, yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. Now, being a band that comes from British Columbia, and being that like 25% of the bands I've interviewed are from Canada, my viewers are probably sick of me asking this. We just interviewed Unleash the Archers.
Yeah, from Vancouver.
Yep. But I mean, come on, with Archspire coming from there, and Beyond Creation, and Cataclysm, Gorguts, Critopsy, you name it. Coming from British Columbia, though, is there like kind of like a metal scene that you guys sort of cut your teeth in, or did you take a trip down south to like the grunge capital or the Cascadian Doom capital to get the name out there?
Oh, it was weird. I mean, like it was more like social media and internet stuff that kind of got us going, and then I mean, we did a Canadian tour for our first tour, and it did well. And then we did an American tour right after that, and both headlining tours. And but I mean, yeah, there's like a pretty cool metal scene on the East Coast, like Montreal, Quebec, Toronto, it's like a pretty awesome scene there. So every time we go there, we really enjoy playing, and we seem to do pretty well there, and like everyone's awesome there too.
Yeah, Vancouver's. Yeah, I don't know if we ever really fit in. When we first started the band, started practicing together, there was like a couple of deathcore bands in the scene. It seemed like a really healthy place for us to start, playing deathcore and shit like that. But very quickly, we became like the only deathcore band in the city. It was really hard for us to kind of like play shows because the hardcore scene's like, I don't know if we can get down with these guys. And then there's obviously like an amazing tech death scene, and death metal scene, with Archspire being like the headlining, band in that realm now. And I don't think we really fit in with them. I would like to one day. I want to be a part of that. I hope.
Spire is so distinct. I think.
I know, and they're so crazy, and like it's intimidating for
and
us.
The
and
funniest
like
human beings I've ever seen.
They're ridiculous guys too. Like and like. I really hope we can do something one day with them and like, kind of bridge the gap between fan bases. But it's been really tough for us in Vancouver. And I think, for the most part, we've been more successful like hitting the road and just getting out there. Yeah. But, and Vancouver has a very interesting scene. But, we still play locally and we still have fun. So,
yeah. Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, it's funny. When I was interviewing Travis back at NAMM, he said that Canada's a harder place to tour because it's like all spread out.
Yeah.
Yes.
Long drives.
Long drives.
Precisely, yeah.
But I mean, I've seen pictures. It's got to be beautiful drives too, right?
Yeah, it's definitely more chill than touring around. Like less people, right? Just less people, more space.
Yeah.
So
it's like New York.
Lots of downtime.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And as I was talking before, we were going to do a bit of a gear rundown for Angelmaker. So I know that you use both 6 and 7 strings, right?
For this band, I like the range of having a 7. So, I just have a 7-string. I mostly just play 7s in Angelmaker. When we were recording, I was using a 6-string just because I find it's, for me, a little easier to do the solos on a 6.
That extra B string is just like, it's such a pain in the ass.
Yeah, and I got, like, not the biggest hands, so the neck's kind of wide. But, yeah, as far as gear goes, I've been with Aristides Guitars for little over 2 years now, and I've been using their stuff. It's awesome. We used it in the studio. Colton used one of the 6 strings in the studio as well.
Oh
yeah. And for live stuff, I'm kind of all over the place. I usually use an EVH 5153 head and a pedal board, and I got a bunch of pedals from Eris Effects. But for this run, I'm using a Fryette Sig X with just an Axe Effects just for ease of use.
Wow.
Yeah.
Awesome. How about you?
Yeah, well, like Mike, sorry, if Matt said, hey, Mike. Yeah, I got to use an Aristides in the studio. Man, those guitars are like some of the best. It's like the best guitar I've ever played, I think. Those things are like insane.
Yeah, they're amazing.
Matt's friend Jeremy, he's such an awesome dude. He let me borrow that for the studio and for our last Canadian run. Mm-hmm. And shit, those are nice. What I use when we're on the road, though, is a Schecter Hellraiser 2 series.
Yeah.
Yep. And they're
can't go wrong with Schecter.
Dude, it's sick. I love the guitar. Like, I hope like I could get in with Schecter. I would love to play their guitars just consistently, and I have been anyways. I've just been playing with this guitar for the last couple of years, and it's rad. I just run it through noise suppressor right into. What's the head? The Line 6 Bogner.
Yeah, it's the tube one. It's the HD 100, I think it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's super sick. I can dial in like a bunch of different tones, and I've been using that for the last like 4 years now or so.
Yeah.
And I'm a minimalist when it comes to gear. Like
sometimes it's the best.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, also my guitar's a 6-string. I'm not good at playing 7s. I can though. I have been.
He's lying. He's fucking lying.
I've been forced to at times in the studio, and they're like, you just got to use the 7. It's like actually we actually had to use the 7 in the studio.
Yeah, we blocked the trem off. So like we just used my 7-string that I'm touring with, and we just blocked the trem, and we did all the rhythms with it.
Wow.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, do you find that these the types of guitars you use, is just about the comfort, and that's the guitars you always have been using, or is the gear that you use kind of meant to adjust to the style that you play?
I mean, like, I've played so many different guitars and amps and stuff. I mean, I have things that I really like, and a lot of the stuff that I have toured with over the years, like there's some things that I would replace or just get different things with, and I mean, as far as like the guitars go, I was with Comparison before. They're awesome guitars. Went all over the world with them. But I feel like when I switched over to Aristides, it was like a very familiar feeling, and that's something I kind of just kept with me. And I like, as soon as I picked one up, I was like, it feels like I've had this guitar forever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
Yeah, I've noticed the same thing with those guitars specifically. That's like I mean, they look sick, right? But they sound sick, but they feel really good.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of a combination of all of those things. I mean, they have the sound you want. You can't go wrong with the sound, but they really just do feel like, you know, a guitar you've been playing for many years, which is nice. And in the Schecter Hellraiser I've been playing is what's the style, buddy? It's
like almost like a single cut Les Paul style.
Yeah. And I one of my first guitars was one of those, so that I do feel comfortable playing that guitar, and the sound I think is really good on it as well, and that's kind of why I've been playing it. It holds really well in drop AR tuning as well, so it's just kind of it kind of just.
Do you
fell
need
into
a Floyd
place.
Rose for that tuning?
I don't. No, I don't.
You just have to use strings that are
Very-
like you just have to use bass strings on your fucking.
thicker
Yeah.
strings for sure. Yeah, the bigger gauge.
He's got those
does
tough
the
fingers.
does
I'm
the-
all like 10 gauge.
they does the trick for sure, and yeah, I like it. Yeah.
That's the most important part.
Yeah.
So before we go, I want to thank you guys so much for your time.
Thank you.
It's going to be an awesome show tonight for the Bloodletting Tour. Just you're finishing this Bloodletting Tour. When can we be expecting the new Angelmaker record? I know. I have to ask it. That's
We get that like every day.
we're going to have new music out before the end of the year.
For sure. Yeah.
So I can't say whether or not it's going to be the album, but we are going to have new music out by the end of the year, and it's very close, and it's super, super sick.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, we're really excited about it.
Oh yeah.
Noah from Arsis is totally mooning
He
us
just
right
mooned
now.
us
I
right
hope
there.
the mirror in the background actually caught that.
Let's hope so.
You know, they're
Yeah.
like one of the worst.
I don't need this
bands.
video monetized. It's all good.
Don't ever tour with Arsis. If you get the chance, just turn it down. They're the worst.
I found it especially that it's not so much the music, it's the people that are horrible.
Yeah. Especially Noah.
Especially Noah. He plays bass and
Oh,
That's
you
a
went
so you know who he is in the
Yeah.
band.
Yeah.
But thank you guys so much for your time
you,
on that
man.
note. Everybody, we are here with Angelmaker. Pick up their latest full length record, Dissensions, if you haven't already, and be sure to be on the lookout for new music coming soon and catch them on the Bloodletting Tour. We'll see you next time on Heavy New York, everybody.